One of the things I absolutely love about Django is its authentication system that comes fully functional out of the box, complete with best practices for password hashing, session management, and protection against common attacks such as brute force attacks and CSRF attacks. That's why I'm very excited about this video where we're going to create an authentication system so that our users can register, log in, and log out. We'll be learning so much along the way, so let's get coding! So even though you could totally watch this video as a standalone video and learn about Django authentication, it is part of a Django learning series. So let me show you what we're working with. So we've obviously already created a Django project, and it has two apps right now. The Movies app, which we're not going to concern ourselves with, as well as the Users app. That is the app that we'll be adding logic to. So far, what we've done within our Users app is just defined custom user model in models.py, and then we went to settings.py and added Auth user model and set it to our custom user so Django knows about it. Is there anything else I should tell you? Oh yeah, we created base.html and we have included Bootstrap, which we're gonna use to style our templates. Alrighty, now speaking of templates, let's go to our templates directory, which is empty right now. And let's go ahead and create a new directory, call it users, and inside it, let's create a new directory also and call it accounts. And our users would want to log in. So we're gonna need to create a login page. So let's create a login template. We're also gonna want our users to be able to register. So let's also create register.html. And our users would want a profile page as well. So let's create profile.html. Okay. And we're also going to need a urls.py file for mapping our URLs to our views, right? So let's create urls.py. And now we need to tell Django that we created a urls.py file in our users app. To do this, we'll go back to our project directory where we have settings.py, and we'll find the urls.py file. And we're going to include our user's URL in the same way that we have included our movies URLs earlier. So let's add comma, path, and let's add users as a URL prefix, and then include users.urls. Okay, now let's go to views.py within our users directory. That's where we want to define our user related views, including our login view. So as you might know, and as I keep saying, I guess, Django has an amazing built-in authentication system. And one of the ways in which it could help us save a lot of time is through the built-in authentication views that we can subclass very easily and customize, including the login view. So in order to use it, let's import it. So from django.contrib.auth.views, we want to import login view. Okay, and now let's define our login view. Like we said, it's subclassing login view. So next up, we want to tell Django where we keep our login template. To do this, we can set template name to the relative path of our login template, starting from the templates directory. Okay, and of course we can add more customization later, but for now, let's go to urls.py and let's define our URL patterns. I'm going to open urls.py from the movies app to the side. Here's, we'll copy some lines from it. We'll copy paths import statement, for example, and we'll copy the URL patterns list. And now let's import our login view. So from views, import login. Okay, now let's define path for login. Let's give it the endpoint login and then set login as view. We use as view with class-based views. As view turns class-based views to callable views. Okay, now let's give our path a name. Let's set it to login. And now let's go back to our browser and go to users/login. This error drove me crazy one time when I first started learning Django. Can you guess what's causing the error? It's saying invalid argument, and as you can see, the invalid argument seems to be about the path to our login.html. The reason why I wanted to create this error, to create it for you, is so you don't have to go crazy like I did. So what happened is when I copied the path, I ended up using backslash, which Python sees it as an escape character. Anyways, let's fix it. All you gotta do is use the other slash, not the backslash. And now if we refresh, the error is gone. And we have an empty page. Now, let's go to our login.html file and let's extend base.html and override block content. So if you remember, we created base.html earlier, and it contains our HTML boilerplate, also where we defined blocks such as block content. Now what we want to do is render our login form, right? So because we subclassed LoginView, our login form was created and passed in already to the template. So all we gotta do to access it is just write form between the magical curly brackets. And now if we refresh, I think we should see it. Yay, here's our form. Okay, now let's wrap our form in a form element. And let's set method to post. And let's also add a button with a type submit and have it say login. Okay, now let's refresh. Okay, when we make a post request, it's very important to include a CSRF token to prevent CSRF attacks. And Django comes with built-in CSRF protection. And in order to have CSRF protection for our forms, we should add the CSRF token tag inside our form element. I'm copying from the docs and just pasting. Okay, now let's start working on our register view. So in order to register our users, we're going to need a user creation form. Unfortunately, Django does not provide a built-in register user view like it does for the login view, but it provides a very handy user creation form that we can class, and it comes with password hashing and password confirmation built in. It's very nice and handy. So we're going to subclass it. So let's create a new file and call it forms.py. And we want to import user creation form. So from django.contrib.auth.forms import user creation form. Okay, and now let's name our form register user form and inherit from user creation form. And yeah, we want to override class meta and set model to our custom user model. So let's import it. So from models, import custom user. Okay, now let's set model to custom user. And we want to set fields to the fields we want to have. The custom user model already comes with a username. We want that in our form. It also comes with an email. We also want that in our form, and we want password 1 as well, and password 2. Now let's go back to views.py. So like we said, Django doesn't have built-in user creation view, but it does have super handy class-based views that we can use. For example, the form view, which makes making views that rely on forms super easy to create. So let's import it, and let's define class register user and subclass form view. And we also want to set template name. You know what? I'm going to copy from the docs. I'm going to copy everything and paste, and then change the code to match our usage. So template name, we want to set it to our register.html template. And form class, we want to set it to our register user form. So let's import it from forms, import register user form. Okay, let's set form class to register user form. And for now, let's set success URL to our root page. If the form is valid, then we want to create a new user. So let's just set user to form.save. And because we have subclassed user creation form, form.save would create a user for us. Next up, we want to log in our user, and doing this is very easy because Django provides login function that allows us to very easily log in our users. I'm going to copy its import statement and just paste it. And to log in our user, we need to pass request, so self.request and the user. Okay, and this should do it. Okay, and now let's go to urls.py and add path for register. Okay, let's also import our register user view that we have just defined, like we've done for login. Register user as view and set the name to register. Let's just go back to our browser before we do anything else and see if that works fine. Okay. All right, we have an empty page. Okay, so let's quickly remedy that by going to our login.html file and just copying everything in it and then pasting it in our register.html. And let's change the title from login to register, and what the button says to register as well. Okay, and now let's go back and refresh. Yay, and here's our register form. Okay, so let's test it by creating a user and calling the user tester and giving our tester user the email address tester@test.com and a password. Okay, let's hit register. All right, it redirected to our landing page, which is definitely a good sign. But how can we know that our user was created successfully? That's a very good question. So Django provides a super powerful admin interface that's created for you right out of the box, and it reads data from models and provides a quick model-centric interface where we can basically just see what's in our database and interact with our database super easily. So in order to use it, we need to create a super user in order to log in our admin site. So let's do that. So let's open terminal and let's stop server. The command for creating a super user is py manage.py create super user. Okay, now we're prompted to put in a username. I'll make my username Pico and an email address. I'll leave it empty, and a password. Okay, password again. My passwords didn't match, seriously? Okay, I'll try again. Okay, password too similar to the username. It's also too short. Yes, I know. All right. Okay, super user was created successfully. Yay. All right, so now we can access our admin site. So let's run server again. So py manage.py run server. Okay. Now let's go to the admin endpoint. Just add /admin to your base URL. So here it says you're authenticated as tester because we've logged in as tester earlier. That's a good sign because that means that creating tester actually worked and we are logged in as tester. So yay. Now let's try to actually access Django admin with our super user, which is Pico. Okay, so this is our admin interface. Where are our users? We can't see them because in order to see a model, we need to register it. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, go to admin.py within our users app, and let's import our custom user model. We want to take advantage of Django's user admin, which is a built-in admin class that provides a pre-configured interface for managing users. So in order to use it, we have to import it from django.contrib.auth.admin import user admin. And now all we have to do to register our custom user as user admin is write admin.site.register custom user and then pass in user admin. Okay, now let's refresh. Users appeared. Okay, so let's click on it. As you can see, we can see Pico and we can see tester. Let's click on tester. So as you can see, the password is hashed and we can see last login as well as other things. Okay, let's go back to our register.html now that we know it works. Let's see if we can make it look good because right now it looks terrible, right? But how can we do that? we don't have the HTML code for our form. We just passed in form like this in curly braces. So how can we style it? So that's a very good question that I've also wondered about a lot in the past when I first started. Until I realized that you can loop over form. You can do something like this. For field in form, let's add and for. Our form is gone. We can bring it back part by part. For example, let's add the labels back. Field.label. Now let's refresh. Yeah, see, our fields are back. Okay, and now let's put back the fields themselves. Here are the fields. Now let's see if we can add some Bootstrap styling to the form and make it a little bit more bearable. So I'm just gonna copy some ideas from the docs. Div class MB3. I'm going to just put it inside our for loop and see what that does. Let's refresh. Okay, slightly better. Okay, and now I'm going to give the labels the class form label. Okay, better. Now let's improve the layout a little bit. I feel like maybe we could put a register inside our container, and we could add margin top 5 to the container, and then we could create another div, and we could give that div the class row, as well as justify content center. And now let's add one more div and give it the class call mid6. Okay, let's refresh and see what this did. Okay, I feel like it would be nice to make our form look like a card with a shadow. So how about we also add a div with a class card and shadow large, maybe padding as well. Okay, let's refresh. Wait, did the padding not work? Oh, I forgot the dash. Okay, let's refresh. Yeah, better. Okay, and for the title, I feel like register is too big here. Maybe we could make it an H3 element and have it be centered. So give it the class text center. Let's refresh. Okay, and maybe add some margin bottom. Okay, and now let's style the button. Give it the class button primary. So yeah, better, I think. Our fields can return errors. So, and those errors could be very useful. For example, if I put passwords that don't match, I'm supposed to see an error because Django does that for us. So let's add an if statement. If field.errors. You want to see the field errors, right? Okay, so let's refresh. See, so this is how the error looks right now. So what we can do is we can remove the HTML tags and we can add them ourselves with Django's template filter strip tags. Okay, now if we refresh, so see it's no longer a list element. If we inspect element, we'll see that it's inside a div element. Let's wrap it inside a paragraph element and refresh. Yeah, now it's inside a paragraph element. Okay, let's give that paragraph element the class text danger, which should make it red. Yeah, it worked. It's red. Cool. So currently our login page is also in a dire need of styling. So let's go there and let's just copy the code from our register.html and let's paste it in our login.html page, and let's change register to login, and also for the button as well. All right, let's refresh. Yay. Okay, so now we want to do two things. We want to give the user the option to log out, and we want it so that the user can easily access the login or the register pages. So let's go to our navbar, which is in the templates directory inside the includes directory within our project directory. Okay, so let's create another div element, and we want to check if the user is logged in or out. Django makes that so easy. All you have to do is use the curly braces and percentage signs and then check if user dot is authenticated. And when there's an if, there should always be an and if. So if user is authenticated, then we want to allow said user to log out. So we need to create a logout view so our users can log out. It's gonna take a second. But let's create a form element right now because logout requires a post request, and we can make post requests with forms. So let's create a form and set method to post. And when we make post requests, it's always a good idea to include CSRF token. And now let's add a button element with type submit and have it say logout. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, here's our logout button. It looks ugly. So let's fix its appearance. So for starters, let's give it the class nav item. And then let's add some CSS styling to remove the border and the background. So border none and background none. Okay, let's refresh. Maybe we can give it text light. Okay, so let's add class text light. Okay, let's refresh. Yeah, very cool. Okay, now of course it doesn't do anything, but to make it do something, it's not gonna be hard. All we have to do is just go back to views.py in our users app. And just like we've done with our login view, we're also going to subclass the built-in logout view, class logout, and we want to subclass the logout view. We don't need to provide a path for a template because, you know, logout doesn't actually require a template. but we should tell Django where we want our user to be taken after they log out. So let's set next page for now to the landing page. And then later we can change it if we want. Okay, and now let's go to urls.py just to map to it. So path, logout, and then, oh, we need to import our logout view. So logout, that's what we called it, right? Yeah. Okay, so logout as view, and now let's give it the name logout. Okay, now let's go back to navbar, navbar.html, and let's set action to URL logout. Okay, and that's it. That should do it. Okay, let's go back and refresh. Actually, before we click on it, let's make it so that if the user is not authenticated, then they see login. So let's add else, and let's add a list item, and inside it an anchor element, login, and let's set href to URL login. Okay, now let's refresh again. Okay, let's click on logout. Yay, you see, now we see login. Let's click on it. Yay, it took us to the login page. Okay, let's fix its styling. So let's add class nav link. All right, let's refresh. Oh, and let's also add the class text light and refresh. Okay, it looks awkward and unaligned. I think we can fix that by adding class D inline. Okay, let's refresh. Yes, it fixed it. All right, now let's allow the user to register if they don't have an account. Let's go back to login.html and let's add an anchor element. Don't have an account, and set href to URL register. Okay, now let's refresh. Okay, here it is. Let's click on it to see if it works. Yes, it does. Okay, let's go back and add some styling to it. I feel like it needs a bit of padding on the y-axis. So let's give it the class padding y2, for example. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, that looks okay. All right, let's copy this line and go to register and add it. But this time we want to redirect users to the login page. So we can say already have an account. Okay, now let's click on it. Now we're on the register page and here is our link. Let's click on it. Yay, it redirects back to the login page. Yay. Awesome. So I guess we can end the video here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something new. If you have, please don't forget to give the video a like. And if you haven't subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again and see you in the next video where we're going to add more features to our website. See you there. Bye.